A man starts working for a wealthy family that might have orchestrated his mother's disappearance. As he seeks justice, he also gets entangled with the family's troubled daughter, who seeks attention in the wrong ways. The citizens of a remote town protest against the construction of a mine as it threatens their economy and health. Paloma leads the protest, and when things escalate, the police only watch from a distance. At night, Paloma and her group are ambushed by officers. Officer Ruben even reminds Paloma that he warned her not to interfere with the mine. He then hits her and takes her and her group away. 3 years later, a stage is built to commemorate the opening of the mine. Among the workers is Emiliano, who climbs one of the stage beams to fix the wiring. His friend, Paco, points out that Emiliano used to protest against the mine and now he is helping. Emiliano defends himself by saying he was just hired, but didn't know it was for the mine. Just then, Paco starts to feel unwell due to the height, causing him to fall. The event starts late that afternoon. During this, Emiliano and his girlfriend, Jasmine, visit Paco in the hospital. Emiliano thinks they should file a complaint against the mining company, but Paco dismisses this idea since he has already been compensated for the accident. At that moment, Emiliano notices a priest attending to another patient. Paco explains that the patient is Officer Josito, who is dying, so a priest was called to hear his last confession. Someone had set the man on fire, making him too injured to speak. His confession had to be written down, and as Paco mentions this, Emiliano notices the officer's wife crumpling a piece of paper before hiding it. After their visit, Emiliano returns home with his sister, Violeta. While taking something out of the refrigerator, he notices newspaper articles about Paloma's disappearance on the door. Emiliano then mentions having seen Violeta's friend, who was a doctor at the hospital. He remembers that the last time the doctor visited them, he was scared. However, Violeta reminds him that the doctor's son was missing, so when they found something, the doctor was afraid it might be his son's body. Jasmine wonders if the authorities have identified the bodies they found in a tanker truck, but Violeta confirms they haven't. Curious to investigate on his own, Emiliano later sneaks back into the hospital to check on Josito. He wonders if the officer knows about his mother's disappearance, revealing that he is Paloma's son. After hesitating, Josito writes something for Emiliano. However, his wife returns and tries to snatch the paper away, prompting an officer who guards the hospital to intervene. Still, Emiliano reads what was written, so he soon checks the address Josito wrote. There, he and Jasmine find the house of a wealthy family who are preparing to bury their dogs. The officers are investigating because the dogs were poisoned, and one of them spots the two observers. Thinking quickly, Jasmine kisses her boyfriend to make it seem like they're just looking for some privacy. Even so, they are taken to the Aldama family's house, which includes the singer Carmen and her husband, Rigoberto. The officers wonder if they are part of the messengers of Alex, who have been bothering the Aldama family. Thinking quickly, Emiliano claims they were just passing through and asked if there were any job openings at their house. Since their dogs have died, Carmen considers hiring him as an additional guard. Just then, her daughter, Monica, approaches. Being a fan of the singer and her daughter, the social influencer Jasmine asks to take photos with them before they leave. After this, Emiliano and Jasmine enjoy a private moment together, unaware that someone is watching them. Later, the two report to Violeta, pointing out how Josito led them to the Aldama family, suggesting they might be connected to Paloma's disappearance. They also note that the Messengers of Alex are a religious organization that might have followers protesting against the mine, which could be why they are bothering the Aldama family. However, Violeta thinks her brother is just getting into trouble. Despite this, Emiliano insists on finding proof that they are involved in Paloma's disappearance, claiming he wants justice for his mother. Soon, Emiliano begins working for the Aldamas. While fixing a window, he ends up just outside Monica's room. The woman mentions having seen him and Jasmine during their private time through the attic window. This embarrasses Emiliano, so she assures him that she finds their romantic interaction appealing. At that moment, they hear Carmen and Rigoberto in the other room. The singer is tending to her husband's wound, noting that he brought the attack upon himself. Rigoberto shrugs, although he admits he still laments the loss of his dogs. Changing the subject, Carmen mentions a TV show that wants to cover Rigoberto's strange art. He thinks it's a good thing, seeing any kind of publicity as an advantage. Rigoberto believes that his strange creation of a prosthetic hole has boosted Carmen's career, as she has been writing songs to complain about it. The woman laughs at this, pointing out that he is living in her house, so he owes her nothing. Angry, the husband kicks her out of the room, and their argument carries over to Monica's room, making her feel resentment toward them. Soon, however, their argument intensifies in a different way, so they take things back to their bedroom. This enrages Monica, so she runs off and jumps into the nearby lake. When she doesn't come up again, Emiliano rushes to pull her out of the water. However, Monica is just pretending to convince the man to revive her. Emiliano refuses and leaves. Later, Emiliano complains to Jasmine that his employers are angry. Just then, Rigoberto invites them for dessert, so they both join the family. Rigoberto wonders what his guests think about the mines, and Emiliano lies, saying he agrees, although he dislikes that they have hired foreigners to work there. His employer justifies that foreign workers are cheaper. Monica mentions the effects on health and the environment, but Rigoberto defends that their society is built on consuming what they can, so it can't be avoided. Moments later, Emiliano notices a mysterious hatch in his backyard. Before he can investigate, Rigoberto continues his argument that taking someone down from the top is pointless in this society. He compares it to how the Alex messengers have been trying to bring him down for the artwork he created with the body of their founder, who was a criminal. Late in the afternoon, Emiliano cleans up before going home, but Monica calls him to join her in the attic. There, she shows him how popular she is on social media for recreating dangerous scenes, like when she pretended to drown earlier. However, the man is not impressed. That night, Jasmine, Emiliano, and Violetta flip through Rigoberto's book, in which he used photos of the body of the former leader of the Alex messengers. The criminal was arrested for misconduct and was killed in prison. Rigoberto then bribed the morgue to gain access to the body and use it in his art. Later in the book, Emiliano finds a handwritten note from Rigoberto, telling him that the truth is in the tongue and in his hands. The trio finds this message strange. Violetta then shares that she couldn't find links between the Aldamas and her mother's disappearance, but her brother still thinks they are connected. He believes that the trapdoor in his backyard might lead to a well where bodies could be hidden, so he plans to investigate it. The next morning, on his way to work, Emiliano finds an abandoned child. He takes the child back to the Aldama house and learns that the child is the son of their housekeeper and gardener. Due to this incident, the couple decides to leave the Aldama home, leaving Emiliano as their only worker. Rigoberto then asks Emiliano to join him and Officer Ruben to confront the Alex messengers about the incident. During the journey, Rigoberto lists the attacks the group has made on his family, including throwing a bottle at his head and launching a smoke bomb in their apartment in the city. They moved to the town to escape, but the attacks only intensified. The men attend a meeting of the Alex messengers and speak with their current leader, Felipe. The man denies attacking Rigoberto's family, but Ruben says that if anything happens to them again, they can be expelled from the town. However, a member of the group argues that they have the right to live in the town without being treated as criminals. She insists that Rigoberto is the criminal, and this turns into an argument until one of the members, Ramiro, picks up a rock to throw at his enemy. Fortunately, the officers defuse the situation by taking Rigoberto away. Due to the events, Emiliano's job extends to being a guard for the Aldamas, and he is given the old maid's shed to use as his room. The man sees this as a good opportunity to investigate the trapdoor in the backyard. Once everyone is asleep, Emiliano sneaks into the house to check the well while Jasmine is on watch. However, the family's remaining dog distracts her just as Rigoberto wakes up upon hearing noises around his house. He grabs a shotgun to investigate while the distracted Emiliano opens the trapdoor to check the underground well. Rigoberto finds the man, but Emiliano accidentally slips and falls into the well. At the same time, Monica has a nightmare about a corpse underwater. She wakes up with a start just as Rigoberto pulls Emiliano out of the well. Thinking quickly, the man reasons that he heard something in the well, so he was checking it. Fortunately, his employer believes him. The next morning, Monica sings in a live broadcast, but she stops when she notices Emiliano coming out of his shed. She approaches him and wonders if he really was stealing from them the night before. The man claims he just thought someone had broken in, and Monica dismisses it. Emiliano then congratulates her on her singing, and Monica admits that she wants to be a singer but decided against it when someone from the industry tried to take advantage of her. Fortunately, her mother discovered them and shot the man, but this forced them to hide in Spain. She knows her mother saved her, but she hates that Carmen ended up meeting and marrying Rigoberto afterward. Monica then wonders about Emiliano's missing mother, sympathizing with how he must feel. At that moment, Rigoberto calls his worker, so Emiliano goes to him. In his office, Rigoberto mentions that there was a shooting last night in which a girl died. He then confesses to Emiliano that the body he used for his book was not that of the former leader of the Alex Messengers, but that of an unknown person. The higher-ups in the Alex Messengers knew this but used the controversy to justify their attacks on Rigoberto. In turn, Rigoberto took advantage of the publicity. The man later reveals that he knows Emiliano applied for a job there to investigate them. He also knows Emiliano obtained the location of Giazzito's house and acknowledges that something might have happened in the area around his house, although he denies knowing anything about it. Surprised, Emiliano asks why he was hired anyway, and Rigoberto justifies it by saying he admires that the man is fighting for the truth. Rigoberto assures that he does not kidnap people, but Emiliano asks him to allow his sister and team to investigate his house if he has nothing to hide. Sympathizing with him, the man worries if there are actually bodies hidden under the house. Emiliano then confesses that he was supposed to be at the protest with his mother the day she disappeared, but he arrived late on purpose. That's why he feels guilty for not having protected her. Lightening the mood, Rigoberto shows his employee the new artwork he has been working on. It's a map based on Emiliano's journey, seeing his fight for justice as something that can inspire others. However, Emiliano does not see it that way. He calls the man crazy for documenting his life as if it were just a story. Feeling used and cornered, Emiliano decides to leave the house, which worries Carmen. Rigoberto reminds his wife how they asked Ruben to get rid of some people, and Emiliano's mother was one of them. He has felt guilty ever since Emiliano arrived at his house, but Carmen reminds him that they didn't ask Ruben to actually kill the protesters, so it's not his fault. Still, Rigoberto cries because he doesn't believe they are innocent. Meanwhile, Jasmine walks with Emiliano back to the village, although she reveals that her parents advised her to end things with him because he won't achieve anything in life since he is stuck in the past. Emiliano asks if she will follow their advice, and she doesn't respond. When they arrive in the village, they pass by the wake of the girl who was murdered last night. However, Jasmine refuses to look at the victim and leaves. After she goes, Emiliano's other friends greet him and tell him that the girl was shot when the Luura gang attacked a store. They want to avenge her by driving the gang away from their village, so they recruit Emiliano. Given his confusion over his mother's disappearance and his future with Jasmine, he decides to take the risk. Violetta sees him and tries to stop her brother, but the group leaves. On the way, Jasmine also sees them and tries to stop them, but her boyfriend ignores her concerns. Elsewhere, Carmen takes her daughters on a boat ride. While she relaxes, Monica removes her suit to sunbathe, but her mother urges her to get dressed because someone might see her. Carmen then asks what she thinks of Emiliano, and Monica admits that she finds him interesting. Finally, Emiliano pulls back and decides not to join the fight. Instead, he goes to Jasmine, who is worried because everyone thinks he went with the others to kill the gang. He assures her that he left before the fight started because he didn't want to ruin his future with her. With that, Emiliano begs Jasmine to marry him, but she leaves him, realizing that she cannot live with his self-destructive tendencies. She returns home, but Emiliano tries to enter the house, only to be caught by Jasmine's father and brother. This leads to a fistfight that leaves Emiliano unconscious, just as Rigoberto calls his phone. When Emiliano wakes up, he finds himself on a boat with Rigoberto. The man offers to close the chapter on his mother, mentioning that he believes in healing and truth. Rigoberto admits that he should have chosen his words more carefully when asking for help from the officers. He insists that he didn't intend for the incident to happen and that things just got out of control. Now, he wants to confess and let Emiliano decide what to do with him. Emiliano asks where his mother is, but Rigoberto doesn't know because he was kept in the dark. Instead, he surrenders himself to Emiliano to atone for his sins. However, the man notices a security camera on the boat. Thinking they will use the footage against him, he simply asks his former employer to take him back. At the dock, Carmen is waiting for them. When the men arrive, Rigoberto tells his wife that he and Emiliano will go to the lawyer's office to sort things out. Carmen refuses, claiming that her husband is simply imagining everything he confessed. Rigoberto insists that everything is true and wants it all to end. While the couple argues, a confused Emiliano decides to end things on his own and strangles Rigoberto. Carmen tries to stop him, still asserting that her husband is simply using Emiliano for his distorted view of art. At that moment, Monica arrives and fires a warning shot, forcing Emiliano to release his stepfather. Carmen rushes to take the gun from her daughter and then points it at Emiliano. She orders him to leave and promises not to press charges. With no options, Emiliano leaves while Rigoberto shouts for him to return and face his justice. However, his wife refuses to let him turn himself in. Furious over his actions, Carmen throws away her husband's artworks and yells at him for trying to ruin her life. Rigoberto calls her selfish because he wants to turn himself in to free himself from his guilt. She pushes him, and Monica rushes to hit him for hurting her mother. Meanwhile, Emiliano reaches the edge of town but hesitates to go back home. While he relaxes, Monica suddenly approaches, asking him what his parents did to him. Emiliano tells her that they ordered his mother to be kidnapped, and Monica refuses to believe that Carmen could do that. However, he points out that his parents bought shares in the mining company, so they had motives to do it. Feeling guilty, Monica hugs him and says she doesn't want to go home. Emiliano pushes her away, but she follows him into the darkness. Later, he lies in the field and Monica seizes the opportunity to kiss him. She even asks him to hurt her during their moment while they record it on her phone. The next morning, Carmen casually goes to the kitchen, takes Rigoberto's gun, and shoots him. Meanwhile, Jasmine discovers Emiliano with Monica and speeds away. Emiliano tries to follow her but ends up cornered by an approaching police car. They take him back to the Aldama house while Carmen has incriminated him for killing her husband. When Monica sees him being arrested, she shouts that she was with him all night, but her mother and the police silence her. Emiliano is taken away by the police, but Ramiro and his fellow Alex messengers deliberately crash into the vehicle to allow him to escape. The man runs into the open field and uses a tree branch to free himself. He then jumps into the lake to swim away. Eventually, Emiliano reaches an abandoned structure in the middle of the water. There, he tends to his wound since he was hit by a bullet from the officers. Soon, the police arrive in the area, so the man hides underwater until they leave. That night, he manages to return to the Aldama house and sneaks into the attic to meet with Monica, who quickly hides him from the officers outside. He claims he didn't kill Rigoberto, while Monica shares that Carmen promised to get him out of jail once things settle down, though neither of them believes it. In the morning, Monica threatens her mother with confessing, or otherwise, she will throw herself off the roof. Frustrated, Carmen admits that she killed Rigoberto, not knowing that her daughter is live-streaming their conversation at that moment. Despite revealing the truth, Monica goes mad upon seeing how complicated her family is, so while facing her camera and audience, she throws herself off the roof. Emiliano can only watch from the attic as the woman who had just saved him dies. Days later, Emiliano, now exonerated, returns to the village. After witnessing how the past ended the lives of Rigoberto and innocent Monica, he decides not to be a victim of what he cannot change. Instead, he reunites with Jasmine, who welcomes him back with the promise of a future together. If you liked the summary, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. It's free and really helps me keep growing.